Hello, 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 and welcome back to Mondays with Matt. I am, so freaking excited to be here with you. Hi to everybody hopping on live, everybody watching on the replay. This is our weekly sacred time together. And for those of you that may be new, somehow, some way, you stumbled upon me in the vast recesses of the internet. My name is Matt Schaefer. I'm a transformational speaker and coach for women. I coach women around empowerment, connection, and relationship, and I am absolutely obsessed with the work that I do and the women that I serve, my marvelous, magnificent magnets. What's up, Viara? So nice to see you in my crooked camera. It's all good. It's all good. Hi, Christine. Christine's like, yay, finally. Yeah, I'm so happy to be here with you. I just got back from an absolutely heart-exploding, profound breathwork facilitation retreat in where was it? Scottsdale? In Scottsdale with Stephen Jaggers, who's an incredible coach and an incredible teacher and a master of breath. Hi, Dira. Hi, Ann. Give me a one. Let me know you're excited to be here for Mondays with Matt. I'm so delighted to have you. And yeah, I just got back. I literally just hit the door from the plane. So you guys are getting me fresh out of the airport, but I've got a ton of energy, and as you may know, it's grounded energy because I am now 2 full weeks off of caffeine, and it has been so interesting experiencing the reset of my nervous system from just not being on caffeine anymore. And then also integrating everything I learned on my plant medicine retreat, and then also all the deep work I just did on this breath work facilitation training that I just went to, where we did a lot of breath work ourselves. There's just so much to talk about, and it all really boils down to the theme of this week's show. And so this is Mondays with Matt. This is my weekly transformational, motivational, inspirational flow state show that I have been doing each and every week since January 2nd of 2017. Yes, it has been that long. And in this show, I come to you with a topic that is alive for me. Whatever is living for me in the moment, whether it be spirituality, love, relationships, emotional intelligence, leadership, personal development, whatever I'm experiencing, whatever's just vibrating in my heart every week, I come to you once a week. I come to you, the members of my amazing community, all my magnificent, marvelous, magical magnets, many of whom watch the show each and every week. I come to you once a week, and we have a dynamic, co-creative conversation about this topic. Yeah, Dira says coming up on 5 years. I can't believe it, Dira. I cannot believe I'm coming up on 5 years of Mondays with Matt. That is astonishing. That's a lot of reps, y'all. That is a lot of reps. So we're going to talk about reps here in just a minute. But again, please respond. Please talk to me. Share with me. It is the alchemy that we create together that makes this show so special. I can talk to a hole in the wall, but it makes it so magic when we have a dynamic conversation. And yeah, the theme of this week's show is expression. It is expression. And expression is something that is so potent and so powerful and so I think misunderstood, right? That it's something that I wanted to devote an entire show to, right? I want to talk about. So when I say the word expression, what comes up for you? What are your thoughts? What are your feelings? Hi, Susan Ellis. Oh, we're so glad to have you, sweetie. Yeah. So let's talk about expression. Marion says, I look so especially healthy tonight. Thank you, Marion. Well, Marion, I feel especially healthy. I feel lit up in a way that honestly, I can't remember the last time I have felt this lit up, this in my body, this healthy, this grounded, this stable. And let me give you a little hint here. Expression has a lot to do with why I'm in that space right now. Lindsay Bowden, hi sweetheart. So nice to see you, Lindsay. Yeah, so when I talk about expression, right, a lot of you are probably thinking, oh, we're just talking about physical expression, right? Like talking, speaking, and that is one form of expression. Okay, but expression looks a lot of different ways. Gail says, when you say expression, I feel like I'm going to tell my man exactly how I'm feeling and maybe giving away too much. I don't know. And that brings up a great point, Gail. Give me a 1 if you have self-consciousness about expression, about expressing yourself, about owning your voice, about sharing your feelings vulnerably. Can anybody relate to that? Does anybody have resistance towards full expression? Yep, Arlene gets it. Dira says, expression makes me think of the display of all my authenticity. I love that, Dira. Yeah, this is all of your authenticity. Expression is your truth. It is. Vera says, I used to think I'm an excellent communicator until I learned that I'm great at communicating thoughts, not feelings, which is something very different. Oh, yes, it is, Vera. It 100% is. And expressing feelings is extremely important because guess what happens over time? Over time, with the world that we live in, with the experiences that we have as human beings, we absorb a lot of emotional junk. We absorb a lot of stress. We absorb a lot of toxicity. We are being exposed constantly. We have a phone on 24/7, ding, 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 constantly. We're constantly connected to everybody. We've got media that's constantly blasting us with energy and toxicity. We've got the judgments of the people around us constantly flying towards us. Can y'all feel that? And so all this stuff, all these feelings, they create stress. They create stress and they create pain and they create all these emotions that build up. They build up in a pressurized way within us. And over time, this stuff builds up and builds up and builds up and builds up. And as it's building up, as it's storing itself in our bodies somatically, we have two options, right? We can either express, which is to release that pressure through whatever vehicle it makes sense to do so, or whatever vehicle is effective, or we repress, right? Or we suppress. We're either going to express or we're going to suppress. And what happens when we suppress our feelings? What happens when we suppress our voice? What happens when we suppress, right? Let me know. Yeah, Dira says we were not taught how to properly express our emotions either, in my opinion. Absolutely. There's no class you take in fucking school around how to express ourselves, on how to release pent-up emotion, on how to share what's in our heart. We don't get that, unfortunately, is not taught in school. Yeah, and Bree makes a great point. Yeah, so what happens when we repress how we're feeling, when we repress our feelings, when we repress our voice, we end up becoming, when we suppress all that shit, we end up becoming repressed. We become repressed people. We become shadows of ourselves, right? We become repressed people walking on eggshells in a world that we think doesn't care about us. We end up selling out on ourselves, selling out on our voice, hiding our light, dimming our light, playing small. Can any of y'all relate to feeling that way? Because guess what? I spent most of my life living that way, repressed. And what happens if you stay repressed long enough is you end up becoming depressed. Have any of y'all ever been depressed before? Right? Because the pressure keeps building. This shit doesn't go away. The more you try to run from it, the more you try to push it down, guess what? You just disassociate from it, but it sits in there. It sits in there and it rots within you. You know what I'm saying? Bree can relate to that. Susan says, depends on upbringing. Young ladies don't talk of such, my mom said. Splendid. Oh yeah, we're not allowed to talk about things that don't feel good, right? I understand that, and I relate to that. And eventually you go from suppressing to becoming repressed to becoming depressed. And if you keep pushing that shit down, you know what happens? You get dis-ease. You get sick. People get cancer. People die. People, develop substance abuse problems to try to medicate themselves out of the pain of this shit that they're holding on to, and they don't even remember it. They don't even remember the stuff that they're holding on to because it's been locked away for so long that they don't even remember where it came from. Okay, that is the tragedy that happens when we do not choose expression in our lives. That is the tragedy that happens when we do not choose to say, you know what? I don't want to have this shit inside me anymore. I want to express myself. Express is the courageous step that we all get to take. Hi, Karen Nims. Rhonda says we start to blow up. Although I hold it in, exactly, the pressure will continue to build and build and build and build until one of two things happen. You either will explode unpredictably, or literally you will get sick. You will implode internally. You will self-destruct in self-destructive habits, right? Carmela says, I had emotional eating issues when I did not know how to express myself. Yeah, people have emotional eating issues. When I didn't know how to express myself and I felt trapped and emotionally isolated while I had my restaurant and I felt like my whole life was falling apart of me, guess what I started doing? I started drinking heavily. Then I started putting Oxycontin up my nose. That was how that was the alternative I had to expression, was escapism. And that was my form of suppression, was disassociating myself and numbing myself out so much that I'm like, well, I feel so bad when I'm sober. I feel like in so much pain that I would rather not feel shit. And the only way I ever felt completely numbed out would be that first half an hour after I put a pill up my nose. It all melted away. And I'm like, finally, a moment of peace. But then guess what happened? Within 3-4 hours later, it was back with a vengeance. You cannot run from your trauma. You cannot run from your somatic pain. You cannot run from your feelings. The only way out is through. And the only way out is through expression. It's expressing your voice, connecting with your feelings, releasing them out of your body. Right? And that is something that was so primally aware to me, something that was so fundamentally, importantly made clear to me during this breathwork ceremony that I just got back from, this breathwork training, was holy shit. So many people are holding on to so much stuff, and what the world needs, what you need and what the world needs, is your deepest, truest, most authentic expression. Okay? You get to express your pain. So what might that look like? You get to express your feelings. What does that look like? Let me know. Let me know in the comments, y'all. I can tell you. I can talk about it all damn day. But here's the thing. By not expressing yourself, you are killing yourself. By not expressing yourself, you are hurting. It is a form of masochism. I want you to recognize that. Dira says, I'm convinced that suppression may be the cause of a large number of autoimmune conditions. Exactly, Dira. Dira's a medical professional. I have a lot of people in my life who are suppressed, who are repressed people who have gotten horribly sick, have gone through terrible illnesses, and I unequivocally just believe in my heart of hearts that, a big reason that these chronic health issues continue to come up is because of their emotional suppression and or emotional repression. Brittany says, wow, I needed this. I'm so glad to hear that, Brittany. Rhonda says, I drink too much red wine. Rhonda, no more running. No more running from the dragon. Okay? You got to face the dragon. Ann Russell says, that's exactly what got me here. Ann's one of our magnets. Ann says, what got her here was exploding because of triggering repressed emotions. Yeah, that's the other thing that happens when you're super repressed or you're super suppressed, right? Is you become a fucking minefield of triggers. Everything's a trigger because you've got all these landmines stored in your body, and every time someone, looks at you wrong, boom, you're ready to blow at them. That's the explosiveness of all that stored up pressure, and it will come out in a toxic way, that will end up hurting the people around you. So when you suppress and you repress, a lot of times I think we do it. We don't share how we're feeling. We don't share how our partner's letting us down. We don't share how miserable our job's making us, because we think that we don't want to have those conversations because we don't want other people to feel uncomfortable, right? We don't want other people to, be like, oh, I don't want to have an uncomfortable conversation with this person and tell them that they're really not showing up for me right now. or that I'm really feeling trapped in this relationship, or I'm in a lot of pain right now. You don't want to have those conversations. Well, guess what happens? You think you're doing that shit to try to like protect them, but when you do that, you're hurting yourself and you're just loading up the trigger. You're just loading the barrel of the gun. And eventually that person who you've been protecting and protecting and protecting by suppressing and repressing and suppressing and repressing, you know what happens? You blast them. And it happens out of nowhere. And then you have hurt them worse, and you've traumatized them. And now you've created trauma and you've created a trigger for them. That's the cycle of suppression and repression that gets passed down lineally through families, through lineages. And it's a fucking tragedy. You know? It is not the way that life gets to work. It just isn't. You know? And so it's very important for us to like connect with, you know, it is our sacred responsibility for ourselves, for the people around us, for the people that love us, for the people that we care about, to live in a continual state of radical expression, of vulnerability. We cannot allow this junk. Oh, that wasn't what I meant to do. It is not, we do not get to hold onto and store into and carry around this toxic baggage with us anymore. Okay? 100%. Boom. I'm going and catching up on some comments here. Deniz, finally got my SIM on my new phone and heard a new voicemail from Adam, my hard drive. Yeah, Deniz, I hear your relationship. You were in pretty passionate early stages of a relationship, and it sounds like that relationship has come to a close. My heart goes out to you, my dear. We're all here for you. We're all here to support you. And look at this. By virtue of expression, like Melissa Benedetti, another one of our clients and students, I know she won't mind me sharing this. Melissa used to have a pretty severe alcohol problem. You know, she had a substance abuse problem, right? She drank a lot, and guess what? She faced that shit, and what she was doing when she was drinking was she was suppressing, she was repressing, she was escaping from her pain and her trauma, and the things that she really did need to deal with. You know, and then she had the courage to go to AA. She had the courage to face her shit. She had the courage to work through and process and express the pain that was underneath that. And now, what's Melissa saying right now in the comments? My chronic health issues have left. All of them. All of them. Isn't that miraculous? Like, this is what's possible, y'all. Miracles and magic are possible when you have the courage to express yourself. So the MAT challenge for this week, I want you to look at the people in your life. I want you to look at your life and ask yourself, where am I repressing and suppressing how I'm feeling? Where have I been allowing stress to build up and I have not been giving it an outlet? I want you to think of it like a pressure cooker, like you gotta find a valve, you gotta find a mechanism to express that pressure, to express that pain. Do you have any idea how much crying I have done over the past 5 years? Since discovering like emotional intelligence work, since going to ALA, I have cried 10 times more in the last 5 years than I had in my entire life. Up until that point, like 30 some years, right? I've cried 50 times more probably. I very rarely ever cried in my life because I was so suppressed. I was so repressed. I was conditioned into a place where, we didn't have, a lot of times in my family, like we didn't have uncomfortable conversations. There was no expression of it was just part of like the paradigm that we lived in as a family. And because of that, I thought that, that was an off-limits thing, that we just didn't have people weren't allowed to have confrontations, people weren't allowed to talk about how shitty they felt, and that everything just had to be good all the time, and that was the front that I had to put on, and because of that, so then fast forward through 20 years of, 25, 30 years of trauma, stress, heartbreak, failed careers, addiction, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, I got 30 some years of trauma and pain built up that I have not expressed. So when I finally got permission to express that within the container of ALA, and I finally gave myself permission to start feeling into all this pain, which literally was like my entire torso was like a knot. of pain and stress and anxiety from just all the things I had experienced and I had not connected with and released. I started crying, and on one level, I haven't stopped crying since then, and I've loved every minute of it. I have loved every minute of the tears, because here's the thing: when you're living in a repressed, depressed, suppressed state, you don't feel fucking anything. All you feel is anxiety and numbness. And as Mr. Jaggers says, right, numbness is an active process. It takes energy to be numb. It takes energy to disassociate. It takes energy to be holding on to all this shit in our body and to not be dealing with it, to not be addressing it. That takes energy. That drains your bandwidth. It sucks away your life. It sucks away your consciousness. It sucks away your energy and your attention that you could be putting towards creative pursuits, that you could be putting towards, building a better life for yourself. Instead, you're using all your time and your energy and your bandwidth to hold on to this garbage, to numb yourself out from it, to disconnect yourself from it because you think that you can't get it out. So I want to invite you, right? Your Mat Challenge is to look at your life and ask yourself, where am I feeling suppressed? Where am I feeling repressed? And what does it look like for me to express that pressure, to express that stress, to release it? And this can look so many different ways, right? Maybe it's going to a breathwork class and crying, and it's the thing. The variety of forms of expression I saw and that I experienced in this breathwork workshop over the weekend was remarkable. Some people needed to scream and cry, and some people laughed hysterically. Some people stayed very quiet and were very within themselves, but they had massive, profound releases. Right? Some people started speaking in light language. Some people had what I'm assuming is a full body orgasm. I saw a couple folks, it was legit. Like it was like they were legit having a sensual full body experience, Like whatever form expression takes, what's really important and what I really want to hammer home to you is this is a judgment-free zone. Maybe expression is you go and you sweat, you move your body. Maybe that's what gets to start moving that energy, because here's the thing, all of this shit is all just trapped energy. And so whatever your expression looks like, it is perfect. Maybe it's having a conversation. Maybe it's telling someone to go fuck themselves that's been in your life for a long time. Right? Maybe it's telling a parent or telling a spouse that they haven't been meeting you. They haven't been meeting your needs. Maybe it's telling yourself that you love yourself. Maybe the person you need to express to is yourself. Are you with me? Give me a 1 if you're down to take the Mat Challenge this week. Okay? Give me a 1 if you're down. This is a very important one. Because we are designed to be expressive people. We are designed to express ourselves. We are designed to own our voice. We are designed to process and release our pain and our trauma. We are not designed to hold on to this garbage. We are not designed to internalize it and just shove it all down into the core of ourselves and to drag it around with us our whole lives just because we're afraid of someone else being uncomfortable, or we're afraid of feeling uncomfortable ourselves in the process of expression. Because yes, sometimes expression can be uncomfortable. Sometimes expression can feel heartbreaking. Sometimes expression can feel like your whole world's falling apart. Well, guess what? If your whole world is built around suppression and depression and blocking your shit, blocking away from yourself, and being inauthentic and running from your shit, then guess what? Your life does need to fall apart because it's built on bullshit. Hard truths, y'all. Hard truths this week on Mondays with Matt. And I know this because that happened to me. My whole life, which was built on bullshit and suppression and all this stuff, it all blew up. And I got to wave goodbye to it and make a conscious choice to live and embody a different truth and rebuild my life authentically, one brick at a time. And if I can do that, I promise you can do it. I share my stories with you only to give you an anchor for the fact that this is in fact possible for you. Are you with me? Are you all on board with that? Carmela says, I was experiencing body pain. I named them after my ex-boyfriends, LOL. Since I've done this work with you, Matt, and my magnets, I've been healing emotionally and physically. Boom! Let's give Carmela some twos. That's amazing. Yeah, and I'm telling you, the healing that you can do, it's beautiful. The healing you can do when you choose to do this work, when you have the courage to say, I am worthy of expressing myself, my feelings matter, my voice matters, and I'm going to unapologetically embody and own that shit out in the world, whatever it looks like. That is the first day of the rest of your life. That is your rebirth. That is your rebirth. Okay? Boom. Dira says, I would have days where it would spill over and I'd want to fight for no reason before I learn to regulate and express better. Yeah, and that's what happens. You know, you can run from your shit as much as you want, but you're still going to get to deal with it. But if you do not consciously express yourself in a constructive way, it is going to blow up in your face. It is going to manifest as self-abuse. It is going to manifest as toxic relationships. If you do not express your deep-seated trauma around men in relationship, guess what? You are going to continue to be attracted to and pick partners that reiterate and reaffirm that somatic trauma. It's just the way that it works, ladies, you know? And aren't you ready to just like cut these patterns, to shift the paradigm, to embrace the life that you want, to embrace a life that's a reflection of what you want and who you actually know yourself to be at the deepest level, rather than a life that's a reflection of your unconscious conditioning and your trauma that you've become addicted to because you've been holding onto it inside of you for so long, you know? And so, again, I invite you to, you know, give breathwork a shot. And I'm going to begin offering breathwork workshops here in the near future. It might not be till, I don't know, it might not be till January at this point, because I'm going to be going home to spend some time with my family here in a few weeks, and I'm going to probably be pretty busy here. But in the meantime, I'm going to be honing these workshops, and I'm going to be getting my breathwork workshop modality dialed in, so that starting in January, I can hit the ground running, doing live workshops here in Austin, and then also doing them remotely over Zoom for all of you lovely ladies. Give me one if you're excited about that. Nicole says, I didn't even know I was repressed till my sister said, you think you're emotionally available? Then I joined MOC. I love it, Nicole Amy Lawrence. I love you. And yes, Nicole, by the way, Nicole Amy Lawrence, Nicole clowned on my hair. So in my picture with Steven Jaggers, I had kind of like my hair like up like this, and I had it down in the back, and she called it a mullet. See, you know, a mullet, it's not when there's a little man bun up here, it's not a mullet, okay? There's a distinction. And sometimes it's nice to do a little of both, a little up, a little down, you know, like business in front, party in the back, but it's not a redneck party. It's more of like a spiritual new age party. Oh my gosh. Viara says, yes, I heard a new quote lately that people are not afraid of handling our trauma. They're afraid of handling the weapons we use as self-defense mechanisms, which hurt them. Yeah, exactly. Trauma doesn't have to be a destructive force. Trauma is not the traumatic event. Trauma is our response to it. That is when trauma is created in our body. Okay? People experience traumatic events all the time. The question is, what are you going to do when that happens? Are you going to lean into it? Are you going to allow yourself to fully feel it? Are you going to allow yourself to fully express it? Or are you going to shove it down and run away from it and allow it to start rotting inside of you? That's when you create trauma for yourself. You know, a traumatic experience does not have to create trauma for you. Are y'all with me on that? I'm just going to go down to the end. Oh my gosh, there's so many comments. Trauma is our teacher. Suffering, trauma, it's a sacred teacher. It all is, you know, or it can be the death of you. Trauma and suffering are sacred teachers if we allow those experiences to flow through us without judgment or attachment. We don't allow ourselves to be defined by that shit. We take the lessons that they're offering us, and then we express them. We express them by changing the way we operate in relationship. We express them by telling people what we need. We express them by crying. We express them by throwing up. We express them by making beautiful new decisions in our lives, by changing the paradigms through which we live. We express them in so many beautiful ways, right? Then they don't become trauma. Then they become the most expansive sacred teachers that we have. My greatest growth has come out of my greatest suffering. My greatest expansion has come out of my greatest pain. Does anybody else have that same experience? My identity has been forged by the moments that brought me to my fucking knees, because you know what? They knocked me to my knees, and I looked at my life and I said, okay, let's change some shit. Clearly, this was a sign of something that I get to work on in my life. And I learned from those experiences, and I kept moving. And to the best of my ability, I did my best to not take that shit on. Of course, whether you want to take shit on or not, sometimes stuff just sticks. That's why it's so important to be conscious of our bodies and to look within yourself. And again, I'm going to reiterate one more time before I go. The MAT challenge for this week: look within your body. Look within your life. Ask yourself, where am I holding stress? Where am I holding trauma? What toxic patterns have I begun chronically embodying in my life? Am I a perpetual victim in the way I talk to myself? Do I have a somatic knot the size of a fucking grapefruit in my abdomen? That's what I've had. And y'all know about Bruce, right? All of you who have been watching this, well, have been following me for any length of time, you know about Bruce, my somatic knot that lives right down here. Well, I have some exciting news. As a result of pulling myself off of stimulants and also doing a bunch of beautiful expression, a bunch of beautiful deep work between my plant medicine retreat and this breathwork facilitator workshop, Bruce has diminished greatly. Bruce is almost completely gone right now, if you can believe that. My nervous system is re-regulating. My body is coming back into alignment. My anxiety levels have decreased significantly. And here's the thing, some days are good and some days are not so good. But this is the thing, when you're expressing, like what I did in this breathwork workshop is I did deep work in my own breathwork experiences, and it's so interesting when you start expressing and connecting with and tapping into pain, right? And pain and stored trauma. Because I would have a really great day, a really euphoric day. Then I would have a day where I felt really just tender and just hurting and just and I knew that in that pain, that pain that I was feeling, that pain and that sense of just almost like I was heartbroken for no reason, that was a form of expression. That was a slow release of stored pain and stored trauma, So again, a big part of this is just leaning into our pain, leaning into our sadness, celebrating it, cherishing it, right? Every emotion that you have is so worthy and so valid of being expressed. And no emotion should be judged just because it doesn't feel good. That is a road to darkness. You know what I'm saying? Valerie Everman says, I cried a lot at church during Sunday worship service. Yeah, that's beautiful. And of course, whatever your mechanism is, whether it be church, whether it be exercise, whether it be music, whether it be breath work, whether it be acupuncture, whether it be massage, whether it be having challenging conversations with people in your life, whether it be quitting your fucking job, whether it be ending a relationship, whatever you are holding on to right now because you think people are better off not hearing it, you're wrong. Whatever you're holding on to right now because you are scared of what chaos might unfold in your life if you own your authentic voice, trust me when I say the chaos that will be caused by virtue of you expressing your voice is vastly superior to the artificial sense of peace that you're currently living in by suppressing yourself, by not connecting with your heart, by not owning your voice. That artificial bullshit piece that you're living leads to a bullshit life, an inauthentic life, a misaligned life. And when you stay in a misaligned life for long enough, that will erode your soul. I mean, it will eat you alive. And I know that because I did that. And I lived that life. And it led me to the verge of my own death, my own self-destruction, And I don't want that for anyone. Lindsay says, no bullshit. Exactly, Lindsay. Ann says, right now I'm giving my son space because he is going through deep counseling and full of rage. Beautiful. And you know what? Rage is a fantastic form of expression. Rage and anger, screaming. I almost lost my voice a couple times during my last few breathwork sessions because, Ann says the rage is just part of facing the truth of the sexual abuse he went through. Yeah, exactly. Every emotion is so beautiful. Gail says this better be taped. Yes, Gail is on Facebook Live, and it will be available for your enjoyment forever. But yeah, rage, sadness, heartbreak, laughter, crying, whatever it is. Hi, Jacqueline DaCosta. So nice to see you, sweetie. Whatever that feeling is, all of your feelings are worthy of being seen and held and witnessed and expressed. Every feeling that you have is a blessing. Okay? Every feeling deserves your attention because every feeling is feedback for you. No feelings are good or bad. Even the ones some feel good and some don't feel not so good. Fuck that. If we lived our whole lives by only doing what felt good at the most base level, we would live a life of continual pain avoidance. We would live a life where most of the food we eat is deeply unhealthy. All our feelings is feedback. They are feedback to help us understand what we're holding on to, what we're experiencing, where our ego is at, and we get to lovingly, work through our feelings and figure out what are they trying to tell us. And then we learn that lesson and then we release them. Because here's the thing, no feeling is permanent. No feeling of joy, no feeling of sadness, no feeling of any of this shit, right? It's all temporary and it's all a beautiful opportunity to practice surrender, to practice that continual beautiful cycle of just letting things in and then letting them go. Joanne Bateman says 3 days to a major life change. I'm scared shitless. Exciting, Joanne. Well, I'm so happy for you. Again, all these life changes, all these crazy experiences, all these terrifying things that are coming where we're like, they're all blessings. There's a part of me that's terrified to do breathwork workshops because I recognize that, it's going to be holding space in a different way. How am I going to integrate this into my business? But another part of me is it's just going to be fun. It's going to be fun to be able to facilitate and create deep healing for people by giving them this blessed ability and this blessed container to express crap that they've been holding on to for the years, crap that's destroyed their families, crap that might give them cancer. Everything, all emotions and all energy gets to flow through us like a circuit and then be released, okay? Jackie says, I remember screaming into a thunderstorm. I heard the pain and felt so much better afterwards. Exactly, Jackie. That's the magic. Yeah, Dira says, no bypassing here. Amen, Dira. So, beautiful. I love this. Bree Island says, I lost my voice for 3 days this weekend out of nowhere with no sickness, nothing, trying to figure out what my body is trying to tell me. Yeah, and again, your body has so much wisdom. Your body has such infinite wisdom. And honestly, and I say that because for so much of my life, including sometimes pretty recently, I have ignored what my body is trying to tell me. Bruce has been trying to tell me that I need to fucking slow down, that I need to ground into myself, that I need to not rely on stimulants to push me through my days, to push me through my business, to push me through my life, that I get to just really connect with myself. I get to connect with my heart and express from there, that I get to trust myself. Bruce was a very sacred teacher, and I spent a long time not listening to him. And I hope y'all can feel in my energy, that you can see in my way that I'm showing up in my beingness, that I'm coming to you from a different place now. I'm coming to you from my authentic self. I'm coming to you from the core of my truth. Unadulterated, undistorted, grounded, and connected to my heart. And that's the space from which I want to run my life, I want to run my business, I want to serve you from forever. Okay? So I hope that you appreciate that, and I hope that you are on board with me on this journey, because the world needs our authentic expression. Okay? So go forth, get out there, take the MAT challenge, stop holding on to shit that does not serve you. I'm sending y'all so much love, and now your boy has to go eat some dinner, because I get, hi Cynthia Nicolau, so nice to see you. I literally just got off a plane and basically came up here and did this because I love you guys. Okay, so have a wonderful, wonderful week. A wonderful, wonderful night. Oh, Nicole says, I love it when you express your feelings on Portland in rage. Oh yeah, you want to see me fully expressed? Go back to the first week of August when I did my rant on Portland. Portland, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And little preview, I kind of focused on the bad and the ugly. Looking back on it, I'm like, shit, there were some other things about Portland that were great, but like, I wasn't in a space where that was what I needed to express. What I needed to express is, after coming out of a relationship where I had experienced, I'm going to be honest, like a great degree of like emotional abuse, and I'm not speaking from a victim mentality. I'm just saying that, like I spent a lot of my relationship very much, and I didn't even talk about this during the live. I don't like, honestly, I don't like to talk about Becky Jean, But I will say that for a lot of that relationship, there were a lot of areas in the way that we communicated and shared where I felt very repressed and very suppressed, where I was on eggshells, because there were a lot of things I couldn't talk about without inviting massive conflict because of her own reactiveness, And so because of that, the pressure was building, and it was building, and it was building, and it was pressure about her, it was pressure about the city, and I'd been in Portland for 2 years, kind of eating shit sandwiches. And so finally, when that relationship ended, and I was like, oh my God, I'm free, and I'm fucking out of here, and I got some shit I need to say about this fucking place. I didn't rant about Becky Jean, and I never will. But in that moment, like, I needed to express all the things that drove me nuts about Portland. And so I had a couple drinks, which I don't recommend you have a couple drinks and then go on Facebook Live and start talking shit. I would not advise it for everybody, but for me, it felt so good. I needed it deeply and dearly. Yeah. And so again, that's my vulnerable expression on all that stuff. And again, I hope that you go out there. I hope that you express yourself this week, because the world needs your voice. The world needs your full emotional spectrum, and so do you, and so do all the people that are around you. So stop holding it in, let it out, breathe, and I will see you next week on Mondays with Matt. Lots of love, ladies. Let's do it. Who's on board? Give me ones if you're on board, ladies. Lindsay Bowden is in. Elise is in. Oh, you're welcome, Elise. Yeah. Carmela is in. Boom. We get to be expressive beings. Expressive beings. Because life is too fucking short to stay locked up in a box, holding ourselves back, because we're afraid of being other people uncomfortable, or we're afraid that other people won't accept us for who we really are. Because here's the thing. If people will not accept you for who you really are, then fuck them. They don't get the privilege of being in your space. Bayara's in. Boom. Deniz is in. I will burst into tears and punch some pillows after my son goes to sleep. Get it, Deniz. That's what it's all about, girl. Jackie Perry's in. Nicole Amy Lawrence is in. Marion's in. Ann Russell's in. Rhonda, Michelle, Vyara. I love it. I feel expressed just doing this show today. I feel like I expressed some emotions, which felt delicious. It felt delicious to share all this stuff with you. So, again, thank you all so much. Love you all so much. And I will see you next week on Mondays with Matt. Okay? Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.